So the thing about the practice was that instead of just practice to become perfect, or maybe to become not good enough, or practice all the bad habits, really, if you practice perfect, that makes mastery, and that is way different from what most people do. So practice does not make perfect, but perfect practice does mastery. Yeah. And to become a master, it's all about really sinking into whatever you guys are doing, and making everything as simple as possible. Because I'm quite sure if you go on the web anywhere really and look up hypnosis, there would be everybody call themselves gurus or whatever, or the fastest hypnotist and all that, sorry for the word right now, shit, but really it's nonsense, because there's no such thing. There's so many ways of doing this. And people who get stuck with calling themselves that is not a title that you claim by yourself. It's something that others may call you, but it's not about that. It's all about the information. It's all about how you provide people with knowledge to do better hypnosis. And that's primarily what I do. It's only about the knowledge. And instead of doing all the 70s hypnosis that so many people are doing, I would like to let people know there's also something called modern and even provocative hypnosis that is way more in tune with 2014, because 9 out of 10 hypnotists or hypnotherapists right now is doing scripts from the 70s, even 60s. Yeah. And how can that even be compared with to do something that has to do with a problem that a client may have in this year, in the now? That would be kind of difficult, wouldn't it? And also regarding all the script stuff is when people get stuck with just reading. I know everybody needs to learn what they're doing. They need to understand it, and scripts are perfect for inspiration. It's perfect for getting new ideas of how to use the words, but there should be blanks in every script. And the blanks that's in every script should be all the words that your client is telling you. Because the main problem, regardless of whatever, the main problem with hypnotists not doing the work as they should be is that too many people are trying to make conclusions for the clients. It's trying to use their own knowledge about things they experienced way in the past and want to tell the clients what to do next. And that is the main mistake that anybody could do, because it's not about you. You don't understand your client's feelings. You don't understand exactly what situation they're in, but you can make them talk. And if they're actually in the subconscious mind, they know all the solutions for the problems. If you're discussing or debating with the conscious mind, they don't know anything. And they might feel that your advice and conclusions are pretty good enough, but since it's not really their problems, it won't be as good as if you do this perfectly. I have colleagues all over the world saying, well, we do quite good, we are quite successful. We might do 6 or 8 sessions with a client and it will last for a couple of years, maybe even longer than that. That's success. And it has nothing to do with success, really. It hasn't. If I do clients, I might see them twice, but mostly I see them once, and it's a long-lasting result. It's a life-changing result they get. Because the thing that was actually the problem is now gone or transferred into resources and new ideas of how really to live their life. And that is a big change. So I hope you guys take notes or just listen to the ideas I will give you right now, because it's all about finding the resources within your client. And trust me, there's a lot of resources. Even for those people who think that they have the worst life in the world, really, there will still be resources. Every bad situation you're in, there's resources. Every client that I've met through the years, and I have like thousands of clients, and even students, I challenge them to give me some good argumentation for trusting that their situation is only bad. Nobody could provide me with that information yet. I would always find something within that situation that made them a better person right now. Something basically simple. Imagine if we take some of the maybe the worst cases that you can work with as a human, that would be incest or sexual issues back from your childhood, stuff like that. That's pretty awful. And if I'm sitting there as a human being listening, definitely I will be affected by that, even hurt a little bit, because it's so painful to listen to all that. But still, from all the clients I had so far dealing with issues like that, they found out that they had resources, they had something within them that made them survive that incident, even several incidents, that made them even stand up from the bed every morning and once in a while smile from whatever they're experiencing in their life right now. And how is that possible if everything is bad for you? And also imagine that if you're a child and you trust an adult or your parents or somebody who's a neighbor or whatever, you trust them. And you don't have the power to say no or stop whatever is happening, but you have the power to save yourself. And that's what I truly trust and believe in. That's saving yourself, surviving. And that is the most powerful resource you have within you. That is survival. So if you look a little bit beyond the actual issues and what's happening, that's only happening back then in the now. So now everything is in the past. So what made me a better person from that experience? Do I notice every bad situation right now? Do I make sure that I will, stay away from that, move all the way around? If I see something right in front of me, will I actually recognize it and move around it? Yes, you will, because you experienced that before. Now you know how to survive and how to protect yourself. That is a great asset. But people have a tendency only to, kind of remember all the bad stuff that happened, all the pain, all the emotion that is still in the past but not part of now. Mm-hmm. And that is a human thing, because everybody is genetically coded to survive. If we go back 15,000 years and everybody was walking in the big fields of wherever in the world, chasing mammoth elephants, with a stick in your hand and nothing to wear but maybe a skin from a bear or something. Who knows? Would you go attack that with just being you? Most likely not. Maybe a couple did, but I'm pretty sure they weren't that smart anyway. Mm-hmm. So what happened is, in order to survive, kind of gather some more people, talk about it. You maybe run at it, but if it turns around, your brain has a great skill called survival mode, and that will protect you from doing something stupid. At least most people, all right? So what happens is that you will think through, okay, this might happen. It might turn around and, knock me over or kill me or whatever, stomp on me. Could be several things. That is called survival mode. In today's words and language, that would be being pessimistic, being negative all the time, and it's really just surviving. And those people who are basically pessimistic or negative all the time, or having just bad thoughts all the time, is people who are getting stuck in that survival mode. Mm-hmm. And then you're really not living your life, because you're getting stuck in that fear and that anger. And I call them clients, because it's mostly those people who walk in this door and get help. And we need clients, of course we do.
What a good and positive reframe that is.
Exactly.
A negative, nasty person. It's just someone who's stuck in survival mode.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine how powerful that would be, being stuck in survival mode, because now that you know that, how much do you think really that you could do? I wonder how much you recognize right now that it's possible for you to actually do, knowing that you're in survival mode. So already there we did some mind-bending language, right?
Look, I'm pausing for 1 second to ask them, what kind of question did Martin just ask you?
Discovery. Nope, dream rehearsal. Design.
Well, it was a hypnotic question, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's something that usually will kind of turn off your conscious mind and ignite your subconscious or superconscious even, because if I do mind-bending language, if I even do like my power reframing with people, the conscious mind will only last for a max of 30 seconds, because it gets shredded to pieces, and there's so much information that it cannot control any of it. So the conscious mind say, hey, I'm leaving. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting the hell out of here. See ya. And the conscious mind wakes up and says, finally, because now we can get to the answers, right? And you can make that happen with any client. Just some fun facts here, all right? The conscious mind, how many processes do you think it can hold within a second? At one time, how many processes?
I don't know, but I would assume one.
I think it's more.
Yeah, but there's a difference between doing something or focusing on something and being able to handle processes.
Right.
A conscious mind can focus on one thing only. That's absolutely true. But it can process somewhere between 5 and 9 things at a time.
Okay.
But the more things that's there, the more confused the conscious mind will be, and the less good it will be at doing that focus on one thing.
Got it. So it can only focus on one thing at a time, but it can process between 5 and 9.
Yeah. Kind of being, the juggler, right?
Yeah.
Having 5 to 9 balls in the air at the time, and you can only focus on the one that you're just about to catch, right? That is how it's working, really. And if you transfer that or convert it into data, how much data do you think that would be every second?
Shit ton.
Yeah.
It would be around 2,000 kilobytes. That would be 2 megabytes.
A second?
A second.
I'm right.
That is how much data your conscious mind can process within 1 second.
This is bananas.
And if you look at actually how much data that could be, that's actually quite a lot, It's a lot of zeros and ones combined together, making messages, images even. And if you guys remember a computer just 10 years ago, 2 megabytes was, pretty much really. But today, 2 megabyte is basically nothing.
So we can process 2 megabytes per second.
Per second. That's how much brain power you got in your conscious mind every second. So imagine pushing the conscious mind out of the way. How much brain power do you guys think there could be in the unconscious or subconscious or superconscious? Just to compare with.
Catherine said a scary amount.
Scary amount. That would be a perfect answer. Okay, hold your horses right now, because it's 400 million kilobytes every second. 400 million.
I don't even know how to write that.
Kilobytes.
That's like...
That is 400 and then 6 zeros.
400 million kilobytes.
That is quite a lot of kilobytes, not megabytes.
Right.
If we push aside the conscious mind.
Sorry?
That's how much the subconscious can process every second. How many megabytes is that? So I'm keeping it in the same.
Let's see if my calculator can actually. Yeah, we can do that. Divided by 1,000, that would be 400,000 megabytes.
Wow. And Martin, how did
that would be 400 terabytes, so that's pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get this information? I mean, how did they measure this?
This is basically information from the NLP community based on some projects that went on some years back, trying to solve how much can you process being in this state of mind or in that state of mind.
Cool.
And it's approximately 2,000 kilobytes with the conscious mind and 400 million kilobytes with the unconscious.
Wow.
So that is why we can do amazing stuff with our clients' minds if they're actually unconscious, right, or subconscious.
Right.
So that is all about the data thing. Now, the big problem that most people have to deal with would be getting your clients into that state of mind where they can actually do some work or communicate with the unconscious. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing you guys learned something from Grace already called inductions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully something about pre-talk also.
Yeah.
All right. So how much would you guess that you guys will be using working on the pre-talk and the induction before you actually go to that place where you start working with your client? How much time do you need to spend, do you think? Cheers.
10 minutes?
How much was that? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
Grace teaches us very fast.
Yeah, and we should, because the faster we get the client to be in that, state of mind, the faster we can get to results. And
I love one of the things that you taught us at the Soul Key training.
yeah,
How people sit down and they want to blab on and blab on and blab on about what they don't even know is wrong with them.
Exactly. I'm not dealing with my clients' conscious minds. I will have them to shut up immediately, and I only want to work with their unconscious minds. Because conscious minds will create problems. It want to listen to itself only. It want to argument and excuse itself and not really learn anything, because it's not a bad thing being conscious, but it's still a survival mode. It's like a security system, the most advanced security system in the world, really, that will do everything it feels is necessary to prevent you from experiencing emotions that might be bad for you. And the only thing the conscious mind can actually do is measure up everything you already experienced and kind of, expect it to happen, but a little bit worse in 5 minutes from now. And since nobody can really predict the future, everything that you supposedly think it would be in 5 minutes from now most likely will happen, because that's the power your mind got, because you expect it. Everything that happens 5 minutes before it happens would be your body reacting to the problem already, and now you're creating it. And that is not positive in any way, is it?
No.
No. So you would never, ever want to discuss anything with your clients' conscious minds. But respect and accept that most clients definitely want to talk about their issues, and they also think they know everything that's wrong with them, and they don't. Everybody got a solution, and I'm not even taking it that far. I know what my client want to work with, so I know if it's weight release, if it's them being depressed, if they want some better performance in whatever they do. It could be anything, really. I know the main issue. So what I do before I actually get my clients, I will send them a video. It's like a 7-8 minute video with me standing in front of that chair you can see over there in the background, and talking to them like, hi there, and I'm really looking forward to the session with you. Something like that. Really, supporting everything that they just decided to do. And every time I talk about trance, hypnosis, deep, relaxed, I point at that chair over my shoulder. And I actually addressed the chair once in a while. I said, the chair over there would actually be where you will sit and just relax automatically. Every client did it so far, so I wonder how fast you will go. Something like that. So I'm already doing the pre-hypnosis stuff on my client.
Them, but their faces are both like this.
You guys want to know why? Because it's so much easier.
And you're already hypnotizing them.
Exactly. So it would be so much easier, and I do trust that my clients will get so much more benefit out of the session instead of I just did an old regular pre-talk and all of that. Mm-hmm. So I'm already hypnotizing them before they get here, and I talk about all the practical stuff. Get a good night's sleep. Don't drink too much coffee and stuff like that. So they just feel like they're prepared to be here. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens? Yeah, sorry.
See your video, your video that you send to your clients?
That would be in Danish, so I'm pretty sure you guys wouldn't understand it. It might be that I do think on some of my things that I will send you guys, it might be on there. I'm not sure, but otherwise I will make it.
Okay, cool. I had one for my clients, but I went way too long. I rambled on. It was about 30 minutes long, and at the end I even taught them self-hypnosis, so they would. Yeah, but it was too long, and the feedback was most people didn't watch the whole thing.
I would say even that 7-8 minutes might be a little bit too much also.
Okay.
We can have, when people are by themselves watching a video, you have a max of 5 to 8 minutes to keep them focused, otherwise they will need to do something else.
Right.
Because they're listening with the conscious mind still, and The conscious mind is not that easy to work with.
Yeah.
It's all about those 5 to 8 processes, right? Or 5 to 9, really. But what happens next is my client walks in the door, and you can see this table behind me. It's usually where I sit when I teach and do trainings and classes. And I do have my working chair over there in the other side of the room. So what happens is I'm not taking them to the chair. I'm actually sitting them down over there on one of the side chairs, and I sit on the end of the chair, the big table, as if I was an instructor or trainer, because it provides me with more authority, right? So I just sit there and say, okay, so you told me you're here because of, yada, 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 whatever it is. And so instead of asking you why you came to this, place in your life where you feel like this is a problem, I would like you to tell me maybe 3, maybe 5 things that you would love to be able to do when we're done today. What would be the most amazing things that you would love doing afterwards? Things you might not have been able to so far, but right now, maybe trusting that you could do when we hit that button today. What would that be? So what happens is my clients talk about all the positive maybes outcomes that would be from this session. Mm-hmm. And that is already programming them to think positive. Mm-hmm. Okay? The conscious mind is already stepped outside of the body, because what I'm doing right now is something I call the hypnotic bridge, is going straight to the first pillar of the bridge that holds the bridge, asking them about all the feelings, emotions, everything that happens within the body before we do the session. So how are you right now thinking about all this? And they start explaining that, and then suddenly they have new ideas and new topics about what the problem really is. It goes pretty fast, actually. Within 30 seconds, 60 seconds maybe, because we ask them directly. And if they start to ramble or start to excuse themselves, I stop them immediately and ask the same question again. So it's perfectly all right, we can do that later, but I would like you to answer this. And then I ask the question once again. And then they do answer it. And so when I get my answer, I just write those 5 things down or whatever it is. And I say, well, before we do any hypnosis, let's do something fun. And they say, okay, we can do that, because all the expectations are gone and they don't feel like they have to perform anything. So perfect, we can do something fun to relax. I actually sit them in the chair over there, which they already know that will hypnotize them, will take them deeper and all of that. And I'm allowing them to adjust it. It's like a recliner chair. You can adjust automatically how it feels like, wide one with arm, rests on it and everything. So they just lie there, and I might put a blanket over them and says, okay, before we really start, what would be the most perfect place for you to relax if you could be there now? And some people say the beach, some people say Hawaii, some people say Peru, I don't know, it could be anything really. It could be the garage or the workshop, it could be anything. And I would ask them, so being in that place right now, just imagine being there, just pretend as if you were there right now. What are the first, maybe 2, maybe 3 things that will make you aware that this is really the place that you can relax very much today? There must be a couple of things that you recognize right now that really makes you relax. What would those 2 or 3 things really be? And then the client say it, and I write it down. So now I got 3 to 5 positive things they want to activate when they're done with the session, and now I got 2, maybe 3 things that really makes them relax in their place of comfort. Mm-hmm. So
let me just pause you for 1 second. So
yep.
Let's just recap some of that info real quick. Right? So beforehand, Martin is sitting in an authoritarian sort of stance at a table that is not the hypnosis chair. Then he's asking 3 to 5 things that would be lovely for you to be able to do after today. Then going over to the chair, they're already hypnotized to relax in, imagining what we've been calling their safe place.
Yeah, same thing.
What are the 2 to 3 things that really make you relax here in that place? And so what we talked about was getting their dominant sense as they describe their safe place, so that you know what they respond to more. Is that what you're doing here as well?
Yeah, it's like if you look at all induction techniques there is out there, The main problem would be if you pick a place, let's say you go to the beach or you go to the forest and you want to take your client with you into the beach or the forest, right? Not only do you have to take them there, you also have to do all, the setup of the surroundings. Mm-hmm. You need to make them feel safe at your place, and that would take a largely amount of time. It might even take, when they get safe or feel safe at your place, it would not be feeling completely safe because it's your place, right? And when that is done, you might spend 10 minutes doing that. You might start doing the progressive relaxation or stuff like that and put on another 10, 15 minutes. That's most common for most hypnotists. Mm-hmm. So now that you spend 25, maybe 30 minutes with a pre-talk and an induction in a place they don't really feel safe in because it's not their place, so they're not completely trusting you. Or maybe they just fall asleep because they go too deep because they're not so occupied thinking about your place. They just want to go, and you kind of lose, connection with them, and they fall asleep. Could happen. So, to me, that's a waste of time, really. So I already gave them the 7-minute video. Already sat down by the table for a couple of minutes, talked about it. Spent 10 seconds walking to the chair, asking them what would be the place that you relax the most, because I don't need to know anything about that place in order to be able to navigate them, my client, in their place of comfort without knowing anything. It's so easy because they already provided me with 3 things that makes them relax even more at that place. Mm-hmm. And if it's inside, I'm just saying, your place that you are right now, and then they would know, oh yeah, I'm at my place and he's with me. How can he know all of this? Mm-hmm. I'm not experiencing, they are, but they think I'm with them. And if I keep, saying those 3 things, that flower, the flowers over there, or the blue sky, whatever makes them feel more comfortable, if I keep saying that again and again and again, they feel like I'm with them, holding their hand, making them feel even more safe in their place. So now they would be way more safer because it's their place. No expectations. No feeling it's like it's hard to do because I need to understand it, because they already understand it. They've been there or they dreamt of this place already. And we can start doing the hypnosis within maybe 3, maybe 5 minutes. Not doing anything, but having them at their place, lying them down, relax, and maybe step into a light or something like that. I usually, Grace, this, I use the 8 waves that we do in the Soul Key also, to extract my client from their body so they can move way more freely, even just a basic regular hypnosis. And that. Everybody, when they're there already and they do it, they love that experience. Yeah. Spiritual or non-spiritual, religious or non-religious. It's like, whoa, when you took me outside of the body, I could do anything. Like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm doing it.
Oh, I'll think about that. That's really neat.
All right. So, do you guys see how much easier it would be for me to work with my clients and how much faster it would be when I do it like this instead of doing all the basic old stuff and building that up and maybe be lucky? You see the idea?
Do you have clients that are reluctant to do that or don't know the answers? What do you do then?
No.
Okay.
Because if they say, like, I don't see anything, I would tell them, that's perfectly all right, because not only seeing would be the answer, but how do you feel? What is it that you know? What would be most common for you to experience right there? What is it that you notice? What would it be like if you just pretended? If there's still nothing, my client is dead, really, because there would be something, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
And imagine this, that the client's saying, there might be if you say, ask them to see all the time, not that many clients see. So ask them what they do know now, what they notice within them, and all of those things, because it's way easier to connect with instead of seeing. Because some clients see like this purple, reddish kind of thing, and that's the inside of the eyelids. And right. that is not the subconscious seeing anything. That's the conscious mind trying with laser eyes to look through your eyelids, and then your client is not really there and you made a mistake earlier, all right? Mm-hmm. So the second thing would be, I only see nothing, like everything is black in front of me. And I would say, wow, that's amazing, because do you know how many people who don't see anything at all, but you see black? Wow. So how black is it? If, let's say, a 10 is a complete dark black, and 1 would be just a grayish kind of thing. How black is it? And they would say, well, it's an 8. Okay, so now it has a value. So seeing nothing is suddenly a value. How dense would it be? How light would it be? Could it hold me up? Do I feel what's up and down? Am I standing on something? We're adding values to it. So they're actually seeing and experiencing a lot of things, but their conscious mind is doing all security measuring and making sure that they won't jump straight into an old emotion that might hurt them. That's what's happening, really.
Right.
And the third thing would be people saying, well, I kind of see this, or do see it, but it's like in pictures, it's like in flashbacks, daydreaming, stuff like that. And that would be perfectly all right. I never experienced myself any trance at all where I kind of just saw everything like being in a movie. Never experienced that. Because being in a subconscious mind, experiencing like this in hypnosis will be experiencing on multi-dimensional levels, really. You know stuff, you feel it, you're absolutely in control, you can hear everything in the room, you can hear your facilitator, your hypnotist, you can hear your own thoughts, you can hear your own soul sometimes, the feeling of it, you can hear everything that happens on the outside, you can sense every fiber in your clothing, you can feel everything on your back that's lying down on a chair, on a table or whatever. All of that at one time, really. Could you guys do that now? I don't think so. Because you can focus on one thing only, being conscious, right? Right. So it's multi-dimensional experience. But in this way, imagine how fast I can put my clients into a nice, workable trance and actually start, working with them. Right? Mm-hmm. A lot of teachers also, really concerned about how deep are your client. Let me tell you guys something. As you guys might have experienced already, I'm not sure really how much IHF uses on suggestion tests, but I don't use them.
Yeah.
It is so 70s.
Yeah. We don't do it at all. The only thing we might do is in the self-hypnosis teaching is to test the eyelids, but we don't do catalepsy, we don't do any of that.
So why do you test the eyelids in a self-hypnosis situation?
Well, the way that Shelley taught the 30-second zap was just to say, close your eyes, imagine your favorite color flowing from the top of the head out through the tips of the toes. Notice your eyelids are very relaxed. They're so relaxed they just don't want to open. Try to open them, they just don't want to open. Same thing, the color, count down 10 to 1, say your hypno-affirmation in the color. So that was just the structure of the self-hypnosis process, and I guess she threw it in there so that people would realize something had happened. For the purpose of the test. But
okay, yeah, for the purpose of the test, and we don't need that test, really. Yeah. And already using the wordings inside of that, what you just said, that we have a couple of problems. Can't open. That means to the subconscious, I can open them. So we do have a couple of problems. So.
Well, I must have phrased it wrong just now. Okay. The way it's phrased is, you realize they just don't want to open, or they're so relaxed that they're just not opening. I mean, she doesn't say not opening. Okay,
yeah, because it's a basic hypnosis thing. Instead of looking over our shoulders, explaining our clients what we want to move away from, I would rather have them look in front of them, seeing what they want to step into. Okay, so when we do things like that, I would say just experience how great it feels that your eyelids stay closed.
Right.
Instead of not opening or something like that. So that's the kind of the mind-bending thing that I want to push people over to. So it's only about what will actually happen, and that is not opening, that is staying closed. Gotcha. Because it's so much more powerful. Everything will kind of conflict between the conscious and the subconscious, right?
I really like that.
But it's just one of my things. I don't like suggestion tests because it's kind of, if they fail, it's not equal to them not being able to do it, because they might already be there. But if they're kinesthetic people and you suddenly, without them knowing, touches their eyelids, I would freak out myself. I would punch that person doing that to me, because who gave them permission to touch me or get that close without me knowing? That is a problem. And what could happen that is even worse, that is, imagine that your client is actually perfectly able to do self-hypnosis. And you know, the test that is already happening is, since they were born, they've been doing this 100 times a day, each day in the whole life. So we know they can do it, okay? And what is happening is, if they suddenly react in a negative way to the testing, they might think they won't be able to do what you need them to do. And that would create even greater barrier, a wall that we need to jump in order to trust that we can do hypnosis with ourselves. And that, I think that is a bigger problem than just, you know, leaving the test away from what we're doing and just allowing them to sink down and go deeper and maybe opening their eyes and look at my hand and then close again. If that happens perfectly, all right. If it doesn't, what does it take for you to just relax and close your eyes and allow your body to sink? Mm-hmm. That would be the next question, because something is happening right now that is making your body not sink. What is it? Did you notice that just before it happened? Did you recognize your shoulder going down and your arm twitching like that? Did you actually notice that? If people say, yeah, I did, say, okay, so you controlled everything that just happened. Yeah, I did. Okay, so how did you do that? What kind of muscles did you need to activate? What kind of things happens in your arm during that movement? Mm-hmm. Said, I just did like that. I said, no, that's way different. That was another thing. You did something different just a couple of minutes ago. Was it really you, or was it your subconscious? So no matter how they answer, I will get them understand that the subconscious interfered and did something, and they just need to trust it. Because you can't move anything in a conscious way anyway. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. Because would you know which muscles you need to activate? Would you know what kind of nerves that is really working with that bicep and that shoulder? No, you don't. You just have a thought, and it might happen within a split second, it might happen in 2 seconds, because your subconscious decides when it will happen. Mm-hmm. So in either way, you will always win, and you will always make your client understand that subconscious is interfering already, and it feels okay and safe to use it. So that's more powerful than doing, you know, tests and stuff. But that's just me. Hey, that's just me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
I know we agree on that, and I know you need to teach the curriculum of the IHF, because that's how they do it. But luckily for you guys, now there's another dimension to it.
Mm-hmm. So before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask you a question about something you said right in the beginning. Sometimes what I found with my clients, and it might just be because I've only been doing this a handful of years, is that people would come in, let's say, for nail biting, which can be a challenging one, way more so than quitting smoking, let's say.
I definitely agree with that one, yeah.
And that the core issue is not the nail biting. That's a systematic representation of an OCD personality and some anxiety thing that's going on. Yeah. So I would find that one session's not enough for most of those people. And I wouldn't want them to come in believing that they could get cured in 1 to 2 sessions if they actually need 3 or 4. So I sell sessions in a package, not because I don't think 1 or 2 sessions is wildly effective, but because I don't want people to sell themselves short.
Okay.
So how do you market yourself by knowing you can make huge impact in 1 or 2 sessions, but without saying... Because, oh, well, here's my main fear, that if someone comes in and has 1 session, but they need 3, that they'll say, oh, hypnosis doesn't work.
Okay, I get what you mean. And this is the big dilemma, because no matter what you're doing, what kind of techniques you're using, how you set up your business, everything is only about one thing. That is the client. Yeah. No matter what. And since you guys cannot predict the future, and since you guys do not really know what is wrong, don't take that wrong, with your clients, or what their issues actually is, you cannot tell them how many sessions they need.
Right.
But there's a negative programming in selling, and I know it's good for business, though, but there could be a negative programming in saying, well, let's sell you a package of 3 sessions. That takes the client to think, I might need 3 sessions. So I would rather say, instead of saying, what if we just do 1? What if they need another one? Well, the answer would be, we just do another one. But what if we did everything we needed to do in the first one, and they think we still have 2 sessions? There might be something wrong still. I do believe if I still got 2 sessions, we might make it even better. So kind of get the idea? So what I do, I don't sell my business as if, one session is good enough or enough for you to really overcome this problem. That would be, I could never say how many sessions you need. But for most of my clients, one session, maybe two, is quite good enough and really enough to make the life-changing experience that they need to go on with their life and release everything they need to release, okay? If you have bigger needs than that, we will know that and we will, schedule another session. Okay. So now they're programmed in a positive way, feeling safe that if it's necessary with more, we can do that, and then I will tell them, well, if you need a third session, we can make it, a discount on that one. But trust me, for the past 5 years, the max I've seen one with the same issue is 2 times. And we're talking deep inner source issues and problems that would make any psychiatrist, shiver and feeling scared of working with them. Hell, most of them were actually people coming from several years from the psychiatrist, not getting anywhere.
Right.
So, yeah.
One of the things that we watched was a video on how the brain, the neuron cells in the brain create the dendrites at the end, and every time there's a new experience, there's a new synaptic firing, creating a new experience. So one of the things I always tell my clients is the more hypnosis you do, the deeper it goes and the longer it lasts. That's why self-hypnosis is great. So wouldn't that suggest that having more sessions will make it not even last longer, but just be stronger? Because I know I've had
I kind of get the idea.
No?
I know what you mean, but I'm not sure I will agree on that, because the synapses, the new experience they got from emotions and stuff, were things happening in that moment, that first very moment where they felt it. And now we rearrange all the electricity from those synapses over here to 2 new ones over here, and bam, we got that connection. And since this is a powerful, positive thing, the old one, the negative one, kind of just fades away, and the new one is working. Okay. So if you keep doing sessions with this connection again and again, it's just like a drug. You need more, and you need more, and it gets the less more effective. But what they need to do, what keeps this active and more powerful, would them actually be stepping out into the world and getting all those little, successful moments of them suddenly being able to do something different. Okay? But I usually tell my clients that when you realize that you suddenly are doing this and forgot everything about how everything was before your session, it might be that you discover something new. It might be that you find out that you have a new idea you want to overcome. You have a new idea you want to make real, and I can help you with that too. So those new synapses, we might be able to make an even stronger one further out, and that would be what I'm looking for, because we can only aim this high right now, being conscious and knowing we have a problem, holding it down, and when this releases, we go up to another one. And we might feel, okay, this is the limit of this one, so when we release that one, we have a third one. And so it's like steps that works exactly like that. So I would never do hypnosis with the same issue, because I know for a fact, if we released it in the session, and that would be my main purpose of doing the session, there can only be something new that prevents my client from getting the success they hope for. So what is that new thing that popped out? That must be a new session, maybe even a new issue, and then we have another session, but it will be a different issue.
Okay, that makes sense. Because what I typically have experienced is, even if somebody buys 6 or 12 sessions, we're never talking about the same thing for more than a session or 2.
No, you shouldn't.
I'll come back again and again. Okay, cool.
Because I do have, and again, that's me just being provocative to everybody who's who heard me say this for quite some time now, that if you're dealing with the same issue after 2, maybe a max of 3 sessions, trust me, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
If you cannot address the subconscious with solutions and get those solutions and make the change within 3 sessions, that's 3 hours of working with the subconscious, trust me, you're definitely doing something wrong.
Right.
That is the main issue. The second one would be that happens maybe 1 out of 30, maybe 1 out of 40, would be your client playing tricks on you, pretending, not being honest, and that happens. And then it's not you having a problem. It's just you, trusting too much in your client and allowing them to play tricks on you.
Got it.
And that would happen on most people who start working with this, that they do trust their clients too much. And if there's something, well, the thing that made me so successful the past 5 years would be I don't trust anyone, not even myself, really. The only thing I do trust is when I'm working and I'm sitting there with my client being connected, I trust everything that happens right there when I'm in my zone of working. Because I don't have the power to think it. It happens, and then I think, oh, did I just say that?
Right.
And it's always the right thing that I just did. I don't have the brain power to process the fast words I do or the fast speech that I have when I do hypnosis. And that is the best thing ever because it must be my subconscious working.
Yeah, it's cool. Both of these ladies have experienced that for the first time during.
Awesome.
Shama had a question.
So
Yep.
you said that you trust that your clients will tell you the truth, what they know of what's going on. Is there chances where clients may not even realize that they've been lying to themselves, so they can't tell you the truth that you're seeing as truth? Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense, yeah. Let me put it like this. I never trust my clients when they're conscious.
Okay.
But I definitely do trust them when they're if it's the subconscious I'm talking to. The things that might be a problem would be that what mostly happens if you don't really wrap up the session in the perfect way would be the conscious mind being a little bit skeptical also afterwards. Even though they just had an amazing session with the subconscious mind doing all sorts of things with all the solutions and all the feelings and emotions, if we don't embed that or integrate that enough in the body or in the subconscious, there will still be a skeptical conscious mind afterwards, and that might be a problem. So we really need every time something pops up, you need to ask your client, how does that feel like? Because then we have the mind-body connection, and we need to embed it into the body, because it's all about, the bridge would be starting over here. The problem, how does it feel like? I'm not looking for answers. I'm just looking for how does it feel like, allowing my client to say something, and then we move on top, and then new ideas pop up of what the problem might be, and I'm doing reframing on that to the other side of the bridge. Now it's positive solutions, and when we have those positive solutions, I'm going down the pillar that's holding the bridge, saying, and how does that feel like when that was a problem before, it's now an idea, and now it's a feeling. How does that feel like? That is the hypnotic bridge, and I'm making sure that happens every time, because otherwise it wouldn't get integrated enough within my client, and we need all those positive resources to be absolutely integrated within the body. Okay?
Cool. So can you say the hypnotic bridge again, and I'll draw it while you say it?
Well, I will give you guys access to it, so you will get a paper of it.
Okay.
We can do that. So that would be maybe even easier. And I'm sending you guys a couple of logins and links to some online products I do have. And that would be, the hypnotic bridge would be one of them. I think it's a 1-hour video going through all the phases of the hypnotic bridge, so you guys will understand it even better. You're welcome. I'm doing that. I'm doing that with the hypnotic bridge, with the place of comfort induction with full scripts and videos to it. I'm doing it also with the Sedona method, an amazing releasing method you can use in a wake mode or in a hypnotic trance mode. I'm doing it with the induction formula also, so you guys will get, it's like hours and hours of videos and instructions and PDF files and stuff, so you guys can have some fun afterwards.
Yay! Thank you.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I can just cancel it if you like.
Awesome.
All right. So it's all about, again, it's all about making your clients experience it, because that is the most powerful thing, and that makes me move a little bit into, a lot of people spend too much time in hypnotherapy talking about, what is the word for that? Forgiveness. doing forgiveness sessions with the whatever issue they have toward this person. So it's suddenly focused all about having your client or forcing your client into forgive someone. And I don't believe in forgiveness like that. I believe in something that's way stronger, and that's accept. Okay? Imagine again a situation, a client raped by their father in the age of 7. Okay? Would it be all right to go back and just do the forgiveness and not really concerning about everything that's in the situation? For some people it would be. If you're kind of really strong religious, that's all about forgiveness. And if something's wrong, Jesus loves you, and that's fine. But does it really help you getting anywhere? I don't trust that. So what I would rather do would be going back, finding the resources, accepting the whole situation as you survived, you got some information, you got some resources, how are you using them today? That guy is still a jerk, but imagine how much power you got now. That suddenly makes your client, when they felt like this big before this situation and the perpetrator like this, it suddenly changes, because when the client finds out how many resources they got, they feel this big afterwards. And suddenly the perpetrator is like, this little guy, not that strong, because now they know how poor they were, how not strong in their mind they were, because how could you do that to a child? That's not normal. But something must be wrong. And if you know that and accept it, it's so much more powerful than just forgiving. It might be from accepting it that you want to forgive that person, because now you know that they couldn't do any better anyway, because they didn't know how to. And there might be forgiveness in that, and that's perfectly all right, because it's a different kind of forgiveness. I'm not forcing my client to forgive it and forget it. I'm suddenly making my client realize how much power they got from that situation, how many skills they do have from that situation, that they're here right now, and there's a reason for that. It's because something happened back then that made them so much stronger. So can you guys see how much more powerful that is instead of just doing forgiveness?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Shama said she's trying not to cry.
Well, hey,
in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. No reactions, but releasing cry, that's good.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a little bit like red at the moment, but usually, I'm kind of a rock and roll guy anyway. If I do have authority problems with some of my clients, I roll up my sleeves and say, okay, so what is it that makes you go this way right now? And people usually respond pretty all right to that. But again, it's
my entire arm.
Sorry?
So the next phase of the training is picking out your sleeve.
Yeah. Make them look into the circle right there. No, so what I would do is it's perfectly all right for you guys to be emotionally touched by your clients, because if that doesn't happen, you're not connected with your client. I'm a big guy, consider myself as a big guy, as somebody who's really protective of my own emotions, but every second client I do have that is crying, I'm sitting there with goosebumps and with tearing up already, because I feel the emotion. And that's only because I'm a human being, but I will never allow myself to, get away with that emotion or go too deep into that and losing my client. It's just telling me how powerful it is, and I feel it, and if I feel it, it must mean something to me. And that makes me feel even more empowered afterwards, because I got just a tiny bit of their experience within me. That's powerful, and that's perfectly all right. Now I got a trick question for you guys. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
All right. So you are working with a client, and you need your client to go into a nice deep trance, or let's just call it hypnosis. Who goes first, you or your client?
We do.
We do.
Yay!
Always. Because if you're not in trance yourself, how could you control that many things anyway? Okay? And again, kind of moving back to the old script reading stuff, imagine sitting there reading something and being conscious about what's on the lines, You can focus on that only. So how is it possible to be connected on a subconscious level with the client when you're reading something, right? Get the idea?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good. All right. Not saying that you can never read anything, because it might be that you need that in the beginning to gather everything. But I do have like the best advice I can give you guys from a beginner's perspective. The best advice, that would be whenever at all you guys feel like you're stuck within the session and you're looking down at your papers and you don't really know what to do or where to go, what do you think the solution would be?
Close your eyes and feel where your client is, and the answer will come to you.
That is a good answer, but not the one I was looking for. What I would do, I would throw those papers away, gone with them, because they're taking away your attention. And then I will ask my client to repeat the last answer. And then I will listen to it. And then I would know where to go, because it's not in my papers. It would only be, from listening to my client. Or the best question could even if you don't know where to go from that last answer, it would be, so where is it that you know that you need to go or release something right now? Where would that be? That's asking your client subconscious, and they will tell you. So that's much easier, isn't it?
Yes.
Some of the best results that I ever seen when I work with people and I make them do fast inductions and stuff like that, and I ask them to do a fast induction for the day after and write it down, and we're doing the exercise, them sitting there reading it, I'm asking them, what is the worst thing that I could do right now? They say, take away my paper? Do you feel that's the worst thing? And say, yeah, and I'm taking away the paper. They said, now I don't know how to do it. I said, well, did you write it? They said, yeah. Okay, so you put some thought into it, isn't that right? Yeah. How many times did you correct it? Well, several times, really. Okay, so it might be when you look over it once again, you might want to correct it once more, isn't that right? So they say, yeah. Okay, so now you would know what would be the best way to do it in this moment, knowing that you did it differently before, or you might do it differently in 5 minutes from now. I want you just to do it exactly as it needs to be done in this moment right now. And people sit down and they do amazing stuff because all the pressure is gone. Now they're just doing it for this moment. And how could you not do anything for this moment at all, really? Everything is just about this moment, because everything that happened already is in the past. I don't look at the past. Everything that happens in 5 minutes from now hopefully would be something that I did expect, because I'm having positive thoughts about what's going to happen in my future. I'm not thinking in a negative way about my future, because then negative stuff will happen. So you can control your life in all sorts of levels and dimensions. So this would be one way to do it. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, awesome.
Too much information or too little?
Oh, it's just perfect.
All right.
I was going to say 2 new groupies, but you're like in Europe, so all the guys are looking at you like,
I'm signing up for all of your lists.
me?
So what I really just want to tell you guys, again, remember what I said in the very beginning, that practice does not make perfect, but perfect practice makes master. So the more things that you can have that will take away your attention and focus, the worse you will do. And if it's all about your client, what else could there be but just listening to your client or asking them questions and have them answer it? That would be the solution to a perfect practice. That would even be the solution for a perfect session. Because also another thing that some of my students do is I tell them not to go back home when they have the first couple of clients and sit down and pretend even that they can plan everything that will happen in the session they're going to do tomorrow. And still some people do it. And they call me and say, well, I had this client, I knew what the issue was, and I set it down on a paper knowing that I wanted to do the release thing, the parts therapy and stuff like that, but everything was changed when they got here. I'm like, well, what did I tell you? I told you not to do it. because you will freak out. Because nothing will ever be like you expected it to be, because hell, it's not going to be any way the client expected it to be. So how could it be anything that you expected it to be? Because they can change the mind within a second. We have something very human called free will, the power of free will, that, excuse me again for the language, fucks up people's lives because they use it in a bad way. Usually they use it as an excuse. And free will is not about using it as excuse to do what you need to do. Free will is when you have suddenly a positive thought that you can do something different, and then go do it and have another success of doing something different. That would be the most perfect way to using your power of free will, I guess. So remember, when people got free will, and everybody got that, and if you have a client that's able to communicate with you, ask them the question, why are you here? And what do you want to happen afterwards? What would be your dreams? And then you know exactly what to do. Look for the thing that is preventing them from living their dreams right now, what is dragging them down, what is holding them back, or making them fall over every time they do something. Find the positive resources in that, kick everything out that's left, and then implement all the positive resources in the client. Now nothing is holding them back. And you can do that in one session. That's basically how simple it is. The more complicated your client think it is, the more complicated you might think it is, the less complicated it really is. This is why psychiatrists do not understand why we can do change work so fast as we actually can, because they are working through the conscious mind. And that would be layers upon layers upon layers of bad excuses, false realities, idiotic thoughts even. And there's no way you can ever succeed in trying to shoot all of that down, because there's thousands of excuses. There's thousands of going lefts and going rights instead of going straight to the source, because it's the conscious mind. That is why if you only do like coaching or stuff like that, only working with the conscious mind, that is why it takes some effort and some sessions and some years and some power. And the only reason why we do have success when we do hypnotherapy right, that would be when we actually do have our client in a deep trance, and we actually do communicate and address the subconscious, and we do get to the source and get rid of it. Then we can do change work in minutes. That is the difference. Power speech.
Yay! Wow.
So does anything that I do say make any kind of sense to you guys?
All of it does.
All of it. That's pretty successful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also another thing I want to add is I do see a lot of clients out there accepting or feeling okay with doing like 60 or 70% success of the sessions. That's good enough. And all of my teaching is not about the 60 or 70%, because everybody can do that. Just talking with someone and allow them to move into the emotion would be 60, 70% of release work. But the only thing I do care about is the last 30, maybe 40%. And one of my, my skills would be fine-tuning every hypnotherapist, picking some words away from the vocabulary, allowing them to see things in a different way, and move from 60 or 70 all the way up to 97 or 98%. Because it takes just a little bit of fine-tuning, but all the old bad habits and stuff like that will prevent them of going there. But to me, that's only close to being good enough. Good enough would be 100, right? 97, 98, that's pretty all right, but it's not close enough to good enough. So 60, 70%, that's definitely not good enough. That's bad work. So that's kind of my philosophy in this.
One of the things that I learned from Martin is, I mean, he's a master in all these different areas, but he still goes to the hypnosis conferences. I mean, oftentimes he's teaching there or speaking on panels, but when he's not, he still sits in on classes. This is you don't just get your certificate and walk out of here and that ends your education. If anything, it's just the beginning.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
And also an issue that I might want to talk with you guys about is afterwards, what are you guys going to do? How much are you guys going to charge for which product and that service and yada, yada, yada? It's pretty simple, actually, because you guys invested time and money into learning something as powerful as hypnotherapy. You went to a great trainer, and you're sitting in her living room right now. You got a strange dude from Scandinavia online on Google Hangouts telling you some other weird stuff. And that's your time and money invested in something that might create a future for you guys. So when you charge your clients for doing something with them, they are not paying for hypnotherapy. They're not paying for your service. They're not paying for anything but your time. Okay? And your time is worth something. If you go sell your time for one of those, too cheap deals that might be on the internet because everybody else do that, well, you're going to sell your time away for pocket money. And that's not good enough. You will get clients that do not expect anything more than just a little result because they're not paying nearly enough what they should be. So if you have a proper price, you will get even better clients. And there's a statistical fact to this. I started out doing, sessions for $99 when I first started, and I got some medium clients and some not really good clients, thinking, well, if it goes wrong, it's just $99. That's the kind of clients we got around this area. Right now, I'm charging something between $400 and $500 for one session, and I have a full schedule. I have like a 4 months, 5 months waiting list, and I having clients that want something. They have thought everything through because they're paying me big bucks to be here. So they definitely want something. And I would rather have a client expecting something and being able to change that expectation into what they really can get from this session, and then have everything just explode or implode. I don't care really, but it happens with them. And they feel happy. And they would say afterwards, wow, if I really should pay for that service, that would be thousands upon thousands of dollars. So $400 was nothing because I got a life-changing experience. Those paying $99 would say, hey, what could you expect for that money? Because it's not really worth that much. It might be worth the $50 because I felt relaxed. That's kind of it. So you guys need to decide not to go discount on all your, on your do or just learn is a powerful tool, and you're getting paid for your time. That should put everything in different perspective. So if you charge more, you will get more professional clients, you will get even more better results, and you will get a more happier bank account that feels it's more funny to pay for bills and vacations because there's money on it. So it's just something I want you guys to consider, that there's, going too cheap doesn't make clients better, and it doesn't give you the experience that you actually need or want. I would rather have a professional client as my experience instead of 10 clients who doesn't really want anything, because that's bad experience. And that's practicing not perfectly. Mm-hmm. Right? Make sense?
Makes sense.
This is yes.